can go. All right. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome, everybody, to the Saturday Morning Mastermind. I'm your host, Samantha Studebaker-Carl, and I'm broadcasting to you from beautiful Indianapolis, Indiana. I'm here with my good friends, Dan, Christina, Karen, Catherine, Sandy, and, oh my gosh, I forgot your name.
Nami, I think she
Nami,
said.
okay. Sorry about that. I had like a mental moment there for a second. I apologize for that. Today, we are starting a new discussion. We're going to be talking about the book, The Slight Edge by Jeff Olson. And, okay, lost my train of thought again. Okay, I'm just going to have everybody jump out, introduce themselves, and then hopefully I can get my brain together here while we're doing it. Everybody take a moment, please.
Get it together, Samantha. Get it together, girl. Hey, everybody. Christina Irvin here in Northeast Tennessee. I'm so excited about this book. Already chapter 1 has got me like, whoa, Christina, this is already all you. So I'm ready to get into the discussion.
Dan, excuse me, sorry. Dan Sislick in Las Vegas, Nevada. Yeah, I've had this book for quite a while. I've started reading it and then get interrupted by other things. And so I'm looking forward to finally getting through this whole book myself. When I've started it, I've been blown away by what he talks about and what he shares. And I think it's good, practical stuff that no matter what you're involved in or what you're doing, it can help you. So looking forward to getting started.
Good morning, it's Catherine in Boulder, Colorado, Catherine Clement, and excited to get started on this book. We've just come out of a really long book, and I know everybody's looking forward to some new material, and it seems to be an easy read, so hopefully everybody gets their copy and gets started with us.
Yeah. Good morning, this is Nami calling from Tulsa, Oklahoma. I'm a friend of Christina's, and I'm excited to join you guys in your mastermind. Thank you for having me.
Good morning, Sandy here in Miami Beach. I'm having a bit of an emotional morning, but I knew that I needed to come on here and be with you guys, so thank you.
Good morning, this is Karen Loha. Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, we hear you. We hear you.
Oh, good. Okay. I'm on the phone again, not my favorite thing at all. And I have like cauliflower ears when I'm on the phone, it seems like. So if I don't hear you, just wave your arms badly. It's good to be on with so many sharp and excited people. And Sandy, we're so glad you joined us anyway. Love you guys.
Oh, Sandy, I just want to give you a big hug. I'm trying. I'm sorry you're having a sucky day.
Yeah, I just sent a little chat message to you, Sandy, so.
Oh, I hate to get the conversation going when we've got something else that I really want to talk about with you all. Okay, guys. Well, today we're starting our discussion with The Slight Edge by Jeff Olson. And we're just going to talk about chapter 1 today. And generally what we end up doing in our discussions is we just kind of we reread the chapter ahead of time, and then we jump in and we talk about what comes up for us. And for whatever thoughts come into our heads, whatever life experiences these things relate to, and then we just share with each other so that we can all learn and grow together. And that tends to be a really great way for us all to just experience the book in a deeper way. So hopefully everybody has had a chance to read this first chapter and get, so we can kind of get going on this. But I don't know, do we want to go ahead and maybe just give a little summary of this first chapter before we start talking about it? What do you guys think?
Yeah, let's go ahead and I guess get a little summary in case people haven't had an opportunity to read it.
Okay. Who would like to kind of summarize what the first chapter was about?
Probably we could probably just read the essential points from chapter 1. Cool.
Okay. You want to do it?
Yeah.
Okay.
The first one was the same activities that take us from failure to survival would also take us from survival to success if we would just keep doing them. Hello, preach, hallelujah on that. The second one is you already know how to do everything it would take to make you an outrageous success. All you have to do is keep doing the things that have gotten you this far. Third one is you have complete control over the direction that the rest of your life takes. And the last one is there's a beach bum and a millionaire inside each one of us. What makes the difference is how things turn out. And that would be all the summaries. And I'll just jump off the conversation. How about that? So like literally when I was reading this, the part where that he said the one thing that was similar between him as a beach bum and him as a millionaire was, it was the same things. He just didn't keep doing those things that made him a success. And that jumped out at me. So it got me to exploring like, okay, why is it that I don't continue to do the things that make me a success? Or once I'm a failure, why is it, once I failed at something, why is it that I'm like ramping up on those same very things? And so the word complacency came to mind. I don't even know if I ever think that I've gotten to a point where I've mastered anything, but there's a spirit of complacency that probably takes over. And then I just start trying to like hit cruise control. And then the other thing that jumped out at me that I tend to do is go so hard that I hit burnout and just smack into the wall. Those are the two things that jumped out at me.
I was going to jump out and say I think my book's just a little different version because I think mine's a little bit older. And so I had some additional things in the beginning where I actually have an introduction and he talks about missing ingredients, and he gives like 3, I think, little slight stories. But he does talk about the beach bum in there, but he talks about the Shoshone Woman, and that one always keeps, because I actually read those before I even got started, and the idea of the Shoshone Woman and stuff and things like that, from what I remember of it, she was a shoe shine person, and she was happy about what she was doing, but she had a little daughter and was trying to she wanted to make some changes, I think, in her life, and but didn't know how, and kind of was stuck. And in other cases, once she talked with him, it kind of changed her life for her, and she went out and was able to do and go after and achieve her dreams based on the little principles that he just kind of told her and espoused to her to help her see and understand part of why she was kind of stuck, even though she had all these dreams and ideas. And I think that's part of what we do is we get stuck, or we have that dream, or we have that what we want in front of us, but a lot of times we're either afraid to ask or afraid to because fear of the unknown. And I think that's part of what when I first started on my journey, that was part of what I was doing. And then learning that not to get hung up on the big things, but just keep doing the little steps and little steps and little steps to get to where you need to go, and keep growing that way. And there's another part in the book that talks about the water I can't say it, hyacinth or whatever, it's a flower or something. And that was a powerful read for me, and I need to go back and read it. So I think just getting into finding the things that stop you, block you, or what you fall over, kind of like what you were saying, Christina. I think that's my biggest thing is the things I keep falling over.
Did the story give a prescription for how they got unstuck? I think that would probably be a big thing for the audience if you remembered it. If not, while you're looking for it, we'll keep going. How about that?
I think it's about the little steps, like Dan mentioned, like taking little steps. Because I think a lot of times we have these ideas of like this big leap of I want this and I want to get here, and we think it's just going to be this big leap, but it's really about the little actions we take every day. And I see that in my own life. I've started doing a gratitude journal before I go to bed, and it's like 5 gratitudes for the day, and writing them out is more powerful than just thinking them. So I write them in a journal, and then write your goals and dreams, like 5 of them, and then go right to bed and just have the visualization of your goals and dreams as you're falling asleep. I don't remember who I heard this from recently, but I've been doing it almost 2 months, and it's powerful. And it's a little thing. It takes less than 5 minutes to write it all down, and makes a huge impact. I think I have your version, Dan, because my first chapter has a couple quotes from Ralph Waldo Emerson, which I love, reading his quotes. Do the thing and you shall have the power. And it's just about taking these little actions that make such a huge difference. And they just compile on each other. And I did a online interview for a magazine here in Miami for my acupuncture practice. And one of the things they asked was something about success or whatever. I forget the exact question, but my answer was that, celebrating each little tiny success. It could be that I sent 1 email today, like celebrating each little thing. Like, again, we always think that nothing's really worth anything unless it's this huge thing, but it's really those celebrating each little success every day and taking those little steps that compound over time. So I think that's what I got out of the first chapter, is that's what this book is going to be about, like just taking those little actions towards your dreams and goals, and they build up over time.
Yeah, I think I found a little bit of what I was wanting to get at, because in it he talks about meeting the Shoshone Woman. She was a shoe shiner, and then he got to know her a little bit about her daughter, and her daughter was a cheerleader, and she wanted to help take the team to a big national thing, but she just didn't have the ways and means or with what she was doing. But yet, he kind of summed her up, looked at her, and said if she did make little changes, she could pass for a very successful businesswoman. And she was clearly good with people, articulate, could interact and very easygoing with people. And then, and he said, I noticed the book she'd been reading. It was a popular novel, something to pass the time, to survive the stretches of occupational boredom by living vicariously in someone else's imagined romance. There was a little heap of them sitting there, and then he points out what, instead of spending 10 or 15 minutes here and there, tucked in between customers, sinking into the pages of those forgettable novels, she had spent the last 5 years reading books that were genuinely life-changing. What if that little stack of books included Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich, Stephen Covey's The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, or David Bach's Smart Women, things to feed herself and build herself up and help her feed the dreams and stuff, so that way she could go on and maybe take her daughter and the team to the national cheerleading championships and stuff. He said she was a hard worker, good with people. And so from that, but here she was shining other people's shoes, listening to them maybe talk about their dreams. She was helping build their dreams by, providing that service. But maybe she could take those skills and attributes of being a server, serving people, but bring it to a different level. And I think that's what, taking those little things and the little things that you can change on a day-to-day basis, of maybe not watching TV, or maybe, reading from a book, or meditating, a little bit, learning a new skill, going on YouTube and looking something up that you might want to bring into your business, that if you just, take the time. So it's those little things that add up. And like Sandy said, celebrating those little uh, gains, or, little acts of, you know, accomplishing those little things rather than focusing on the big things, like, oh, you landed a huge big client. Wow, let's celebrate and have a big party. So that's kind of what I was getting into.
So I think a couple of things that jumped out at me that probably diving deeper might be valuable, and that is just the notion of why it is that we discount the small wins, and reframing whatever it is that we're doing, whatever it is that we're trying to achieve. A lot of times it's a matter of shifting our mindset and reframing to see the value in what we are doing. So a lot of times, for example, I remember when I was, when I had first graduated from undergrad and I went to corporate America and I started working, and I was like, well, I'm not enough, so let me go back and go into debt and get this master's degree. And then I went into debt and got the master's degree, and I was like, well, if I got this other master's degree with the certificate with it, then they'll give me this promotion. And then I realized, wait a minute, hold on, Christina, right? I think oftentimes we are devaluing ourselves, or we're devaluing our skill set, and we're not even paying attention to those kind of God gifts that we have naturally inside us to act on. I don't know, but I was thinking perhaps that would be a good place to kind of dive a little deeper with before we go to another topic.
Yeah, I agree. That was something that kind of came up for me when Sandy, when you were talking about focusing on those little gratitudes and focusing on the small successes, because what we tend to do as a people, and I don't know why, I guess it's just programming, is that we focus on the things we're doing wrong. And then, of course, that just makes us think more about the things we're doing wrong versus the things that we're doing right, versus the happy stuff that's happening in our lives, versus the things that are great, And I feel like most of what causes us to be dissatisfied in our lives, or frustrated or depressed or any of those kinds of things is the fact that we're so focused on what we're not doing right, rather than focusing on the things that are good and great. And it's the little things, we will berate ourselves for the stupidest stuff, for saying the wrong word at the wrong time or the wrong whatever. Like at the beginning of this, when I was fumbling over my words, I could sit here and be all upset with myself for not having a clear mind at the beginning, or I could focus on all of these wonderful things that you guys have all said, and that we are able to come together like this on a weekly basis and do this little talk once a week and get some great content out of this. And if I was focused on what I say at the beginning of this thing every single time, then we wouldn't be here anymore. We just wouldn't, because I'd be, so upset with myself for not being as articulate as some of those podcasters out there, or the live broadcasters on TV or whatever, and that would get us nowhere, wouldn't it? It would just take us right down into the blah, blah. So we don't want to be there. We want to do like, Dan, you were talking about the Shoshone Woman, or I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, but how if she had, instead of reading the romance novels for a few minutes, is to read books that help her go in the right direction. And it's the same thing with us. This is why we're here, because we're taking this little time out of our week each week so that we can learn and grow and become more than what we are right now, and remember to focus on the things that are good in our lives and that are positive and that are pushing us in the right direction. And by the right direction, I just mean towards the goals that we ultimately want to achieve. And that's going to be different for everyone. Okay, so I'm going to stop and let everybody else talk.
I was just going to say, so that means that if you were so focused on what you say at the beginning, we wouldn't be here like 4.5 years later on this mastermind. But I was also going to say, what you were just saying is, you know, I think in doing that, we start to see the changes in ourselves too then, and then that builds us up, and then we in turn can, it kind of exudes out of you, and other people see that, and they're kind of like, well, what's changed about you, or what's going on, and then you can open that up to help them see, that if they just make certain changes in their lives, you know they can apply those same things. And it doesn't mean and the big daunting thing a lot of times people think is they have to do these big, huge, humongous changes. But no, the littlest change can have the biggest impact out of anything. And I think that's where we lose sight of that is, you know, way back when we all first started to do our journeys, it was making that decision to jump in and just start doing it. None of us had all the right answers or the stuff there right in front of us, all nice, perfect, and packaged, and just here, put this on and you're there. It just doesn't happen that way. And without going through that, I think we miss out on the true values of getting in touch with ourselves too. I think that's the other part of it.
Wait, I have a question. Smith, you were saying focus on, my handwriting is horrible. I'm like, what did I say there? You said focusing on doing what's right versus doing what's wrong. And I've been exploring that one for myself a little bit too more. And so do you all think that there's a prescription of what's wrong so much in like society and our culture, like this is wrong, like you should do this? I know for me, as I've been exploring that, it's been every time I go back to there was a worth deficit in me that made me to subscribe to what was wrong, which it really wasn't actually wrong. It was right for me, and walking to my beat was the right thing for me. Sometimes when everybody else is zigging, you're supposed to zag, right? So I wonder what you guys think about that.
I think that's a great point, Christina, because I think that we berate ourselves based on what we think other people think that we should be doing. And that what other people think is really not that important. What is important is that you have to know what it is that ultimately you're working towards achieving, and your right and wrong is going to be based on whether you're taking a step towards your potential success that you're looking for, or if you're taking a step going away from your potential success that you're looking for. So if you're looking to be happier in your life, then if you're focused on all the sad things that are happening, you're not taking a step towards happiness. If you're focused on trying to have financial freedom in your life and you keep spending your money on fast food and you're not saving anything, then you're taking a step away from financial freedom, right? You're working on having a successful business and all you do is focus on watching TV every night and you don't do anything towards your business, then, it's not a matter of whether it's right or whether it's wrong. It's whether or not you're taking a step towards the path that you want to be on, taking a step down the path towards the goal that you're trying to achieve, or you're taking a step towards not achieving your goal. That's what I was talking
about. This is all reminding me over the past 2 weeks, I've been listening. I don't know if you've heard Earl Nightingale's The Strangest Secret about taking 30 days to have all positive thoughts. And obviously I'm not doing too well on that today. I'm just starting my 30 days over. But the same quote is in chapter 1. He says this in that video: success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. And in the beginning of that audio, he says, like he had interviewed, I think, 125-year-olds, and they're all excited, they're going to be successful in life and la la la. And by the time they're, retired or whatever, I think, what was it? Something like 90 of them were broke, or I don't remember, but the majority of them were broke or struggling, and 5 were successful and 1 was rich or something like that. So throughout the audio, it's saying basically the same things, like that this book is saying that number one, it's our thoughts, that's the strangest secret. And when you guys were just talking, it's like this conformity that makes people fail, like conforming to society's rules, or what other people are saying is what you're supposed to do to be having a successful life. But it's the people that break away from that conformity that have the success. And because the conformity is, okay, I did it with conform to my mom's rules for many years. And it was when I said, you know what, I know what I need to do, and I need to break away to what I know is the right thing for me to do. And in time, she sees that that's what's making me happy. And so she started bending her ideas of what is success, I guess, based on how I sort of broke away from her idea of success that controlled me for 30 years or something. So that conformity is a big cause of failure, according to Earl Nightingale's video, rather than, I guess, courage is the other side, like taking that courage to do what you know is what you're supposed to do, and not conforming to what society says is right, if that makes sense. Now I'm babbling. Okay.
I find this a fascinating subject because I work with people a lot with their health. I just had to get off of a conversation with someone to get on here to try to consult with them about how they can help their pain. And it's interesting because whether you're looking at somebody building their business or somebody dealing with a health situation, or really, there's like a million subjects, right? But what is it that stops us from doing what we know we need to do? Like, we know, that's what this first chapter is about. You already know what you need to do. What is it that's stopping you from taking those daily simple actions, or from not doing, like in the case of pain, there are some things with this particular injury that are no-nos. You just don't do certain things. And I see people, it's like that old, I know you've heard about the dog laying on the nail and it keeps whining, and somebody says, well, what's wrong with that dog? Always laying on a nail. Well, why doesn't he get up? I don't know. Like, when it hurts bad enough, he will. And it's sort of like that. People know there's certain things they shouldn't do, and yet they continue to do them and complain about the pain. Eventually, the pain gets severe enough that, they say that the pain pushes until the vision pulls. And sadly, we get put to the point, whether it's in our business or our health or whatever, personal relationships, where the pain is so intense. God pushes us. The pain is so intense that we finally move off that nail, and sometimes we have known for years what we need to do. And for what is it? It's fascinating to me. What is it that stops people? Like, what is it that, some of it is this conformity that you guys are talking about. You think that you should do this or that, or not do this or that, or, oh God, what will so-and-so think of me if I do that? Or, whatever. Like, we make up all this shit in our mind. Sorry, but it's true, right? It's all like made up in our mind, right? And we stop ourselves from doing these very simple daily actions. Myself, I'm not accusing anybody. I'm talking about myself here, okay? I know there are certain things that I know things that if I do that, it's gonna make my pain worse. I know that there are certain things, if I don't do this, my business isn't going to grow. Like, I know all these things. But what point did it take for me to get to where I'm doing what I need to do? And I'll tell you, for me, that vision got a hold of me. The vision, I'm working on a project. It's a mission. It's not a business. It's not an entrepreneurial, it's a mission. Okay. And it's because of my last 20 years of being a nurse, and then the last 12 as a patient, and the experiences I've had, on both sides of the healthcare field, and what a disaster it is, and now Congress can't fix it. Like, we're going to fix it. We the people are going to fix this mess, because we can't wait for the government to fix it. Like, they're not. They just keep making it a bigger mess, right? So, and meanwhile, people are dying. Like, I talk to people who are suicidal every day because their insurance isn't paying for what they need. So and like all the bankruptcies that are caused by medical. I lost my home, became homeless because of medical bills. So when the vision gets a hold of you, when you find something, and I have to say, for me, it had to be about helping other people. I see people suffering every day, and I cannot stand back and do nothing. My heart doesn't allow me to go to sleep at night, unless I've done something to help. I don't know. It's like my purpose. I don't know. But when that vision gets a hold of you and pulls, you're going to get up off that nail. You're going to start taking those daily actions that you need to take. And in order to help those people, I have to be healthy. I have to be mobile. I can't be disabled. I can't be, tired and taxed by pain. I have to heal myself so that I can serve the people in a bigger and better way. And so then that forces me to then take the daily actions. I had already changed the diet and that sort of thing. I have no issues there. But the daily actions, how hard was I going to push to find something to handle the pain so that I can take the daily actions of strengthening my body, because you can't strengthen when you're in too much pain, right? So, and I'm not trying to make this all about me. I'm just saying that all of these things go together, right? You can't improve one area of your life, leave all the rest in shambles, and expect your stuff to improve. You know what I mean? You got to address each area. You got to do the physical, and you got to do the spiritual, and you got to do the business, and it all works together, right? And the actions are sometimes the same, which is nice, right? Because you can take the same actions and improve on a few different areas. So it's really cool. But you just got to take those actions. So what is it that stops us, you guys?
Well, I think that you brought up some really good things, because I was thinking about it in respect to myself and conversations that I'm having with so many other people. And I think the last point I'm going to work backwards. The last point that you made about you got to address all these different things, for me, and I think probably more successful for a lot of people, is to understand that recognizing I need to address all of these things versus putting action into trying to do all at the same time are two totally different things. Sometimes there are moments where, all we need to do is just recognize that it's there, and we can let it sit there. We just need to be cognizant of it. But that doesn't mean that we need to start taking action on those things. We need to take action on this thing right here. And once we take action on this thing, it'll be a domino effect for the rest of it, so that we don't get overwhelmed and then burn out and just shut off and not do anything. So that was point number one. And number two, you were saying when the pain is enough. Well, I think a lot of people, including myself, I'll say, God, the pain has been bad. I talk to people, I've experienced it myself. There's no money in the bank account. It's red. And by the day, it's getting more red. with fees, everything, right? The pain is bad. And there's no end in sight, but we kind of tend to sit in it and let it spiral and drown in that despair and overwhelm and pain and frustration and anguish and all of that stuff. I don't know. I think for me, it's a combination of my faith, the pain, and authenticity. Like, I'm going through this vulnerability journey where I'm growing in my vulnerability. I think it's so amazing because it's actually opening me up to being able to receive more, which is in kind making me such a better giver. And I'm having a little bit more balance in my life. So I think there's a combination, and I think sometimes giving ourselves permission to actually not know what that thing is, because Samantha, you were like, be clear on what your goal is. Well, I don't know. I have no clue. I'll be honest with you. I have no clue. I've got all these skills, business skills and marketing skills, but those things are not filling me up. And it wasn't until I started giving myself permission to say, well, what fills me up? Well, hell, I don't know what fills me up. Now I gave myself permission to actually step in that journey. So like part of my yes journey for the next 365 days is being okay with whatever that day brings me, stepping into that and experiencing that, and allowing that experience to tell me whether to go left or right. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I think that's a great point, Christina, because, you know, we don't all have big, lofty goals like, or missions, as Catherine was saying. And I don't either, you know, so I don't want you to get the impression that I have like some big, lofty, you know, why that's happening out there. My stuff is simple. It's like, you know, I want to be happy in my life. That is a major, major thing. And happiness doesn't always equate to having a lot of money or a big house or, you know, a big business or all of those things. You know, I've been on a journey the past couple of years where, you know, we got rid of everything and we went and moved into a camper and stayed in a campground for a few years and lived a very, very simple, low income life. And I was really happy in that, you know, and, but my husband wasn't. He wanted more. He wants a big business. He's got a mission that he's on. And, so for me, my biggest mission really is to create more happiness in my life and more contentment. And so when I see that he's got all these big lofty goals and he wants this big business and all of that kind of thing, is that I can either focus on how much I don't want to have the responsibility of that and be cranky about it, or I can embrace that, okay, we're going on this new journey. I'm going to have a new life experience. I'm going to make it fun no matter what happens. And no matter what happens, I'm going to embrace that. Like you were saying, is let the day bring and then embrace what happens in that day. And you know, and so my big focus is what can I do in my daily life to experience happiness, to experience contentment. And so that guides me. So, you know, like I said, you know, everybody has a different idea of what success means. You know, we kind of had a little pre-discussion on our Facebook group. And I think that we should continue that discussion in there about what is success for you, because that helps you kind of guide your path. And success can mean anything, you know, it can mean just enjoying your daily journey. It can mean getting yourself out of debt. It can mean having a big business. It can mean saving the world. You know, I mean, it's different for everyone.
And I was going to go into that point too, because it made me think about how we look at success and some of the points Karen brought up and you brought up and whoever posted on there made me start thinking of for me. But I also think that, you know, it falls right into this book is what steps then are we going to take to get to those points. But I asked a question in the chat, you know, but why don't other people ever get to the point to make a life change, to change where they are in their life based on the pain pressures threshold or wherever they're at? Because some people just stay there. So why do they stay there? Is it because of, you know, the going back to fear and, afraid of, well, if they're comfortable here and they, kind of can deal with this here, and even though it's painful and the most painful thing they're going through, but it's something they're dealing with and they're comfortable in it, rather than pushing out and trying to do something new or get to where, they want to get. Or is it something else, or is it that fear of what people, because I've seen it, and I was there for, myself for a lot of years, kind of just going through and dealing with, okay, this is where I'm at, this is my lot, this is, what I got to deal with, is, I can't change it much until I realize later on I can, and I do have that ability to work towards making those changes. But, why is it even when people like us who are on that journey and we try to help other people with that journey, why do other people not want to get into? And that's what kind of is getting in my head more, is like, why don't people want to, and why wouldn't they want to if they see something that can maybe help them make their little steps? And that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, when you put that, sorry, was somebody going?
Go ahead, Sandy.
Yeah, I saw when you put that question over there, Dan, and what came to me is like, it's people, there's just excuses. It's so easy to make excuses, and every night, a lot of nights when I'm before I do the gratitude thing, it's like, I'm just too tired, but I force myself every time, like, get up, it takes 2 seconds to write the freaking thing, just do it. But I think it's so easy to just make excuses. And it reminded me of, too, an Earl Nightingale's video, like, free things people take for granted. We take for granted our mind. We take for granted our soul. We take for granted our body. Like, these free things that we come here with, that we can create anything with our mind, our body, our soul. And most people just take it for granted because we have this idea that I need to have this external thing and this thing and this thing to have success and be happy. But we have it all right here, and we can do anything with it. And it's having these gifts given to us, it's like we're blind to in society most of the time, that we have it all, and we can do anything. And it's, again, just how we're brainwashed, I guess, when we come here, like, we have to get this and this and this to be happy, and not realize the power that we have in our mind. Like, what? This thing, when we really focus our mind, like, every second, it's miraculous what we can do and create in our lives. And it's so easy to just make excuses. And I think that's one of the huge things, answers to your question, Dan, is like, it's just easy to make excuses. I don't know why. Why is it so easy to make excuses? Why do we do that? And I guess it's just the way we're brought into the world and the way our society is right now. Like, it's just, let's be lazy and make excuses for everything. But when you were talking to Catherine, I had that feeling of, that thing that comes up. But I also know where you were coming from, Christina and Samantha, about, like, there's this, I forget who the woman was. She did this amazing talk on TED once. I can't think of her name. Where people are always pushing, like, what's your purpose? What's your purpose? And if you don't feel like you have a purpose, it's sort of like you feel bad. Like, I went through that for years. Like, I don't know what my purpose is. Like, you have to feel like a shit if you don't know your purpose. But no, you don't, because I've realized as I look over my life, like, my purpose evolves, it changes, and every day it could be just for that day, like, one purpose, or, like, okay, yeah, I got up today, that's my purpose today, and it doesn't have to be this huge mission or life purpose. Like, like you said, Samantha, to just be happy. I mean, that's an amazing purpose, So I think there's just this huge pressure out there to, like, have this purpose. But I think if you're just authentically living and being yourself, and then you're living your purpose, and it changes all the time. I'm seeing that in my practice. Like, it's interesting how your business, it's its own entity, and you can watch it from afar and you see it evolve, and then you evolve with the changes that it's going through. And it's very interesting because it has its own energy and it's its own thing. And a lot of times we combine it with ourselves, but when we sort of look at it as its own energy, then it's interesting to see how my purpose is changing with the way my business is changing, if that makes sense. When you were talking to Catherine, about, taking care of your physical aspect, your spiritual aspect, like all the aspects we have to take care of ourselves. In our times, it's easy to see the news and get really down. And a lot of people say, well, who are you to be happy? But being taken care of yourself and this and that. But it's the people who are really clear on taking care of themselves and being happy that are the ones that are going to make the changes in the world. So we can't let that. Yeah, of course, we're empathetic and we see what's going on and this and that, but we also, I forget who wrote this quote. Was it the Dalai Lama or something about, it's the happy people who are going to change the world. So I'm not wording it right, but I'm going to try and find it because it's an awesome quote.
I think there's another one that, it's not necessarily a quote, but it's kind of a, I don't know, philosophy or whatever, is that, how can you expect to take care of anybody else if you can't take care of yourself, right? So we got to take care of ourselves first. We got to be happy first in order to help other people be happy. But I have a quick question for you, Sandy. Before, earlier in your talk, you were mentioning about you make up the excuses, but you're telling yourself, no, just do it. Just do this. It only takes a few seconds. Just do it. And so then you do it. But what are you telling yourself as to why you're doing it in the first place? What is it that you're trying to accomplish by doing that? What are you telling yourself? What's making you do that?
Well, I know from past experience when I do the things like this that the changes in my life are miraculous. And so for people who've maybe never done something like that, it's just really having faith and knowing that if I do this, it's going to make an impact in my life. Okay, yeah, it's easy to make the excuse, I'm going to get a couple minutes more sleep. But I guess from my own experience, knowing that the little practices I do to set my intentions or be grateful, like how much it changes my days and my life. And there was one night where, excuse me, I had done the whole writing gratitudes and visualization of my dreams and goals, but then all the worry thoughts started coming in. So I went to sleep with the fears and worries, and I had weird dreams that night, and then I woke up the next morning in that same state. And just by one night of doing it and going to bed like with a clear intention, like you're only focusing on your dreams and goals. You're not, if a fear thought comes in, don't even entertain it. The next day was bliss. It's if you go to sleep in a positive state, you wake up in that state, and it's clear as day. And so when I really noticed that, I was like, no, I'm doing this every day. Like I'm going to bed in a good state. I don't care what's going on in my life that's causing me any fear or worry. Like it doesn't matter. I'm in my bed. That's not here with me. I have my mind and my soul, and I can transform the way I'm sleeping and the way I'm waking up. So just doing it for one day and noticing that change, I'm like, no, I'm doing this every day. I don't care what stupid excuse I want to make up. I'd rather live in the bliss than the fear and worry. And again, it's like, why is it so easy to go into the fear and worry and get so entangled in that? It's so easy. And it's like you keep asking, Dan, it's like, why is it so hard to like make these positive changes sometimes and these life changes? But yeah, just keep doing it. And when you start seeing the little changes, you're like, yeah, I'm going to keep doing it. Like excuses, I'm not listening to you. I'm not listening to you. They're like little devils, like, blah, blah, blah. Like, no, get out of here. Not welcome.
Thank you, Sandy, for sharing that. I want to hear from you, Christina, but I also want to make sure that Karen and go ahead, Karen, if you want to jump out and share your thoughts, because we're coming up on the top of the hour. I want to make sure everybody's had it.
Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me? Cool. Okay, thanks. I thought I'd bring up one additional thing that I haven't heard today as far as what stops people. And I think of it in terms of a little phrase that Abraham Hicks uses when they say, if you just wouldn't do that thing that you do. And for quite a long time, I tried to figure out, well, what the heck is that thing that I do? And what I've come to realize for me that it is that I'm on the wrong side of the coin, of the line, of whatever. I've had a couple of situations this week where I've really gotten mad at God. And some of you guys I know are too pure and too good and too beyond me to even experience what that is. And you just passed me up. But, sometimes I think, why can't we just get over this? Why do we have to have a test or a lesson or whatever it is? I mean, I just have my little complaint mode. You can tell I have a lot of tools in that toolbox. And I realize, it's never done me any good to do that. It's never helped anything. It leaves me stuck spinning for quite some time in a state that's just really unhelpful. And I opened up a page in my Penzu, my online journal that I use for, just turn it around. And went in there, just quick description so that when I look back 80 years from now, I could remember that it was over this and, then writing the way that I wanted it to be, the ideal that I wanted to have. Because I don't know about the rest of you, but it is really hard for me when I get on that wrong side of the coin to figure out how the heck to get over where I'm not looking at the problem, but I'm looking at the solution. I'm looking at lots of solutions. There were lots of solutions that were brought up today. Really appreciate that. One thing I want to say in regards to doing that one thing, I remember a number of years ago, I decided this is so futile for me to figure out my my New Year's resolutions, because, in 3 or 4 weeks, I won't even be able to remember what they are. And I thought, well, that's part of the problem. Another part of the problem is that I'm not focused. And I decided I was going to have one New Year's resolution for the year, just one. And I was going to remember what it was, and I was going to do it every day, kind of like Sandy, doing I love that thing that you do at night and focusing on that. I do believe that's really important, what we say to ourselves. Oh, one other thing I've got to throw in here. I ran across Reader's Digest online. I'd forgotten about Reader's Digest, but as a kid, I loved those little books. I could just, read a little thing here. I could go sit on the toilet and I could just, read and pick up something and come out, this much better person. And this was like that. I have appreciated so much in the last few years talking to myself. And this just adds to it. Researchers believed that if you talk to yourself but you use your name, when I use each of your names, I've got a little bit of distance between you and me, Dan, or between you and me, Sam, or between you and me, Sandy, or whatever, just enough for me to be a little bit more mannerly, a little bit more thoughtful about you as a grown adult, and whatever I may decide or think about what you're doing or not doing, I'm a little more respectful. And I thought, gosh, I get that. If I sit in my 30-minute chair, speaking to my future self, and speak to myself as Karen, Karen, this is so good that you have been doing this for so long now, and it makes such a difference, and it's such a positive thing. It's a whole different thing than when I sit there kind of sunken in deeper and, musing a little bit more and kind of just starting to trance out, just talking to myself. It's made a lot of difference. And you can do that at night. You can say, Karen, you're starting to go a little off into the fears. Let's rein ourselves in. Let's get back to the positive. Oh, this positive is so wonderful. Isn't this great? It's such a good thing. I'm going to log out now. Thank you.
I love that, Karen. That's awesome. That is such a great point of, how we treat other people, and by just addressing ourselves by name that brings that respect to and for ourselves. I love that. Nami, we haven't heard from you. We'd love to hear your thoughts on any of this. Would you like to jump out and share with us before we wrap up for today?
Can you guys hear me? Can you guys hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, good. Awesome. Thanks for asking. I have just been sitting down and soaking in everything, and I'm like, this is so amazing. The gentleman who spoke earlier and I'm not sure what book he was referencing, but maybe I can check the Zoom later. He kept telling a story, but the point that jumped out to me from that was how in the book that we're currently reading, Mr. Olson says, it's simple, right? We're all the beach bum and the millionaire. The only difference is the simple stuff. And he said, what is the simple thing? And he's like, the simple thing is just doing what you're supposed to do every single day over time and staying consistent. So basically, it's consistency. Doing the right habits over and over and over again, no matter what level of success. That's basically how I distilled it. And I love what she just said about how you talk to yourself. I realized that mindset is everything. And the phase of life where I'm at, somebody was talking earlier, and he even talks about this in the book, the beach bum to millionaire cycle, that cycle of success, failure. And I was like, oh my gosh, that has been my cycle, especially since I started grad school in 2012. Thank God I'm finally finishing my last semester. All I have to do is write my thesis. 6 more weeks and I'm out. But that whole pattern of success, failure, it really jumped out to me because our family, we immigrated to this country because of civil war in Africa. So we've really learned so many things trial by fire. And in just reading that and thinking over our 20 plus history here in the US of just things we didn't know financially or things we didn't know about American culture that would have helped us to adjust while we still maintained a lot of our own African culture in the home, but just that would have made the adjustment easier and finding the balance easier. My parents were new to the country. As far as education-wise, they were new to that as well. So far in my immediate nuclear family, my parents sacrificed all these years. All 3, there's 4 of us. I'm the oldest of 4. The oldest 3 have graduated. The baby just started college this year after working for a few years. So they have done sacrifice after sacrifice through cancer, through almost foreclosing on our house. Crazy things. And it just seems like, my God, when can we get the breakthrough already? And of course, I'm a believer. I don't know if other people on this line are. So we know that in my faith, at least, that, the things that occur to us here on earth is not just what we see here. There's a spiritual realm and things that happen there as well. But we have to do our part. Like my mom always says, you do your part, God will do his part. God is not going to come down from heaven, Nami, and do what you're supposed to do for yourself. When you do what you're supposed to do, let him handle the rest. I've never forgotten that. And so that's basically, what Jeff was talking about in this first chapter. He's like, we all have the potential to be millionaires. Every human being that's born has that potential. The problem, and there's lots of different factors, but mainly it boils down to you, right? We have like environment that shapes us. Science shows that. And then the self-talk, we learned those things from positive psychology, and whoever was just talking was mentioning that about how if you just talk to yourself in third person, it makes you more respectful of yourself. I feel like I'm a pro at self-sabotaging, but I've been coming out of that cycle. So when you said that, that totally resonated with me, because we tend to be so hard on ourselves. We don't give ourselves the grace that we would give children learning how to walk. And somebody said it sometime, I don't know, I was listening to something and I was like, oh my gosh, that's what all failure is. As kids, when our little nieces and nephews, because I have a big family, when they're learning to walk or they're learning to drive or all this stuff, we give them all the grace. We give them all the patience in the world. We correct them with love. So why don't we do that with ourselves? And somebody else was saying earlier how like there's this thing in American society, especially now, different cultures are different, but especially in American society, the whole individualistic kind of Ayn Rand fountainhead philosophy of I'm the maker of my own fate. I pull my own self up by the bootstraps, blah, 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 blah. Sometimes I think that's taken to the extreme. Being an African coming from a more collectivist society of, the village, it takes a village to raise a kid. It takes a village to help you get to your next point. We stand on the shoulders of the giants who have come before us. That kind of philosophy. It's very interesting living in both worlds and taking the best from both worlds. Yes, we need to be independent in terms of like realizing that, what? God gave me all the brains that I need. He gave me all the strength that I need, all the smarts that I need. He gave me his word for guidance on how to live so that I know what pitfalls to avoid, because human nature is human nature, whether it was Roman Empire or 21st century Donald Trump America. It's human nature, so there's things and principles that if you do them, they're going to work regardless of century, race, color, all these things. So we have all these resources, but if you're not in an environment that tells you that, if you're in an environment that it's like nobody in your family supports you, or all your friends are negative, or, you've gone through trauma and toxicity and haven't had access to be able to deal and process with those things because it's just life. Until we get to heaven, it's a war. You know what I mean? There's highs, there's lows, there's craziness. But if you don't have those resources, all of those things impact human beings. And then it's like they find themselves going in a cycle and they can't figure out why. Spiritual bondage, physical bondage, financial bondage. And it's like, gosh, when will this end? And some people take it and just say, I can't do it anymore, because they don't have any hope dealers around them. I like to say that I'm a hope dealer. I deal in hope instead of dope. But they don't have people around them to be able to encourage them and say, look, I get it. It's hell right now. Like, I think somebody on the call was crying this morning and I'm like, oh my gosh, what's going on? I don't know what's going on. I don't have to know what's going on, but I just want to encourage you, if you're still here, that it's going to be okay. You're going to get through this season. I don't care how bad it is. Life is going to go on. You'll be able to get through. You're going to be able to heal. You're going to be able to look back on it and grow from, grieve it, scream, cry, do what you got to do. Surround yourself with people that love you, but just always remember that I say this to myself every time I'm in a hellhole. This too shall pass. Sometimes it's the nature of life. Sometimes it's our own dumb mistakes. But no matter what, every day is a new day. And in my faith tradition, the Lord says every morning is a new morning and his mercies are sufficient for us. Where we're weak, he's strong. So that's my 2 cents to close out the call. I just have been blown away and enjoyed it. So thanks for allowing me to be here.
Oh, thank you, Nami. You summed up what we talked about today so well and added so many great points. I'm so appreciative of you being here today. Thank you so very much. Wow, we are well past the hour now. Guys, does anybody have any final thoughts before we wrap up for today?
I have to bring the wooey shit in, right? Because it really wouldn't be one without it, with me being here. So, it's interesting that you actually brought up the little devil on your shoulder there, Sandy, because there is something. I mean, yes, I'm a business owner, and yes, I'm on a mission to fix healthcare, but I also work with energy and spiritual things. You guys know that about me. There is I hate to label something evil, but there is something that feeds on negative energy. It feeds on your fears. And it does implant thoughts into your mind. Like it is kind of like that little devil on one shoulder that will throw those doubts and fears and negativity in there. And you do have the choice, you know, of feeding those fears. Like I said, I hate to label it as evil, but having said that, and you guys have been around me for enough years that you know kind of my thoughts around that, but something is changing. Like I'm seeing what I would term as evil actually reaching out to people. And I'm not sure exactly what's going on, but just beware that where you place your focus, you know, if you start feeding those fears, it does intensify. There does seem to be something that kind of feeds off of that energy, and it somehow will keep you away from that mission or keep you away from doing those things that you know you need to do, right? You know you need to do them to change your life or to get you out of what situation or whatever it is you're trying to accomplish. A mission doesn't have to be save the world. You know, it can be getting your dishes done today. And I mean, seriously. So, but even then, that little devil, you know, I'm an old Flintstone girl, so I see it so clearly, the little devil and the little angel, you know, but stay away from that little devil. Like, however you want to term him, he gets you in trouble and keeps you away from what you're trying to do. So thank you so much. I enjoyed the conversation. The book is excellent. You know, it points out we're our own worst enemy. We always are. We're our own worst critic. We block ourselves. That little devil, we have to choose not to listen to that little devil and do what we know we need to do. And I'm just looking forward to this book and having all you guys here. Sandy, big hug to you, dear. And I can tell that your energy shifted around that a little bit already just being here. So I'm so glad that you decided to come be with us. Love you. And we'll see you guys next week.
Thank you. Yes, this too shall pass. It already did. It was just like a half hour before I woke up, I guess an hour before the hangout, and I had to read the message from a continuation of last night. So it just was like in that moment, like, okay, I got to get on the hangout, and I'm in the middle of it. But like, I forget your name, whoever spoke before, but I always say the same thing to myself, this too shall pass. And it's always true. And thank you all. I'm so glad I came and saw your smiling faces, because it already passed and shifted. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
I was going to jump out and I was going to say I was excited because I think I'm the one that threw this book out there to be voted on, and I'm so glad that we're doing it, because even the little bit that I've read and started reading before and stopped reading because of life and not doing all the things I should be doing, making sometimes those wrong choices, and reminding me that it's up to me to make those choices and those decisions. Nobody else can make them for me, or they can tell me, but yet it's up to me to take the action to do it. So with that, I'm really glad that we're doing the book. I think there's a lot we're going to see and pull and get out of it, and I appreciate what everybody said this morning. And I too, again, just want to extend my arms and hug and tell you how much you're loved and how much we love you. And I love you, Sandy, and know that when one of us hurts, I think we all hurt a little bit. So you're just such a bright spot for us. So love it when you're here. And I love some of the things that you've shared, Christina, today. You helped me see some things that I didn't look at in some ways. So you kind of opened my eyes on a couple things too. So I appreciate that. And as always, I just love being here, and just so always look forward to being here when I can be. So that's my little bit today.
I'm going to be real quick, guys. This has been a great conversation. Everybody had great contribution. I would just like to throw out for everybody this week, maybe try one little thing, and that's being compassionate toward yourself. And the more you're giving yourself the compassion, the easier it is to give your neighbor the compassion, whether you know them or not, whether you agree with them or not, whether they're a jerk or not. It's about balance in the world. And when we have all this strife and anger and resentment and all this stuff that's going on in our world right now, if we could bring some compassion to it, we could kind of diffuse how much it affects our world, how much it affects us personally. So start with you, start with me, you start with you. And rather than being like, God, I didn't get that done right now, I should have did this, I sucked at that, just be like, oh man, I need to go ahead and do that right now because I thought about it right now. So I'm going to go ahead and take action on it right now and allow the momentum of that energy to carry you. Great conversation. Nami, welcome. We're glad to have you. Hope that you come back for the remaining weeks. This was really good to have you. Karen, it was good talking with you. Everybody have a great weekend.
Oh, wonderful, guys. I'm always happy to have everybody on here and have this conversation because we all learn so very much when we talk about these things together. And so thank you. Okay, guys, we're going to wrap up for today. But before we do, I just want to give everybody an opportunity to find us easily. And so if you go to mindsetmasterycollective.com, you're going to end up on our Facebook group. And you can jump in there, add to the conversation, see where we post everything. We talk about these and we create events for each week. But just so you know, we get together every single week. Well, okay. Almost every week on Saturday morning, 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific. And we discuss different topics. And this right now we're discussing The Slight Edge by Jeff Olson. And also you can find all of our replays from our previous sessions that we've been doing for the past 4 years at replays.saturdaymorningmastermind.com. And then if you just go to SaturdayMorningMastermind.com, you'll find all everything, all the information. So, but everything's pretty much in our Facebook group. So jump over there, make sure that you add yourself, and then that way you can participate with us in future discussions. So with that, guys, have a great, awesome, amazing weekend. And we'll see you next week on the Saturday Morning Mastermind. Bye for now.